Hello, everyone. This is Robert Newkirk, and I'd like to welcome you to our YouTube channel. And welcome to another episode of Budgeting in Three Dimensions. In today's episode, we are privileged to interview Dr. Dennis Kimbro. He's a business professor at Clark Atlanta University in Atlanta, Georgia, and he is the author of The Wealth Choice: Success Secrets of Black Millionaires. And he's also the original chosen author by the Napoleon Hill Foundation to write the startup book, Think and Grow Rich, A Black Choice, a book that Napoleon Hill has started and he was asked to finish it. And we're going to be in conversation with him on the surrounding philosophy of budgeting in three dimensions. So sit back and take a listen because you will find this to be extremely beneficial. Hello, everyone. This is Robert Newkirk coming to you with the second segment of our series, Budgeting in Three Dimensions. And I'm excited to be having this conversation with Dr. Dennis Kimbro. And so we're going to go ahead and continue. First book I want to cover is your Think and Grow Rich. And that's this book right here. This is the one that Dr. Clement Stone hired you to write and complete as far as Napoleon Hill's work. And that was very interesting, which you said how that all came about. But in this, you were talking about money, and you make a profound declaration about money, and I want to read it. It says that money is an extension of you, your thinking. It is a symbol of either limitation or limitlessness, according to your thoughts. If you think favorably about money, it increases in your midst. But if you criticize or condemn it, it will dissipate as you approach it. My question to you is, what is the key ingredient that is contained in that statement that everyone in our audience should be able to take away with?
A great question. There's no right or wrong. Only your thinking will make it so. So only your thinking regarding money, your relationship to money will make it so. If you think that you live in a world of lack and limitation, then guess what, Robert? You're going to live in a world of lack and limitation. If you think that that the Creator has created wealth and opulence and abundance for you, then you will live an abundant life. But you are the individual that will decide your personal relationship with money. Money, like anything else, Robert, is a resource, neither good nor bad, but your thinking will make it so. If I say to you, money is almost like the Atlantic Ocean, and you can go down to the Atlantic Ocean and you can scoop up all the riches and the resources, the financial resources that you want. And after I have said that to you, Robert, you go down there with a little thimble and say, well, this is all that I need. Where I'm going down there with a 55-gallon drum. As a matter of fact, a whole bunch of 55-gallon drums. Well, that's based off of my thinking. And you have people who think just like that. You have individuals. I remember when I interviewed Don King, the fight promoter, and I asked him, I said, what are your financial goals? And he said to me, long before Reg Lewis of Beatrice Food, he said, I will be Black America's first billionaire. And at that time, Robert, there were no Black billionaires. But he said to me, he will be. And I said, how in the world are you going to do that? He said, I think it 24/7. I think it all the time. What you think about expands. It expands in your life. Or as Stephen Covey said in 7 Habits, Highly Effective People, everything occurs to you twice in life. First the inner, then the outer. First the thought, then the thing. First the mental, and then the physical. And to the extent that you control what goes on the inside of your life, you'll control what goes on the outside.
And I couldn't agree with you more, because I've been through those cases where I found my thoughts to be less, and sure enough, the whole environment started to shrink with me. And it wasn't until I switched my thinking And
Yep.
that is actually a process that you have to go through in terms of switching your thinking. And only then will things start to expand. And I appreciate you bringing out that key ingredient that is all about thinking and critical thinking and thinking about what is to come and what is to be. That's just it's a powerful statement within itself. And that's why I wanted to bring that out and bring that to people's attention. Make sure they got that. The other reason is that these are books that is a must read for everybody. I would be the first to say that. I've read your books sometimes 2-3 times over, because it allows you to point, like you said, it's about money, but it has nothing to do with money. And it's the prep start with the money. In our course, I start out, we're talking about your money, about your works and the thoughts, the mental preparation before we go into talking about investing and stuff like that. That's way down the road in comparison to. But the next book I want to bring up, I think, if I'm not mistaken, this was your first book that you wrote. You put it on layaway when Think and Grow Rich opportunity came, if I'm not mistaken. Am I right?
Exactly. That was the book that I was working on, and they told, as a matter of fact, Mr. Stone, W. Clement Stone, told me, he said, push that book aside and let's finish Think and Grow Rich or Black Choice.
Right. Okay. So with what makes the great great, and I wanted to kind of bring out the excerpt here. You talk about the 4 basic fears, and it's fear of poverty, fear of death, fear of change and uncertainty, and fear of failure. And for the last one, with the fear of failure, you proceed to state that, let's see, many achievers would like to see the word failure stricken from the dictionary, as there is no failure, only feedback. Now, why is it that so many people succumb to the illusion of failure? And what can they do to switch their mindset of failure into the reality of feedback?
Well, the bottom line with failure really isn't failure as such. I mean, you control, again, going back to your mindset, you control failure by asking the critical question, what can I do next time? As soon as you know, what did I learn in this process? As soon as you ask those critical questions, you know that you're going to redouble your efforts and try again. And with all of the fears, they can all be, I mean, all those fears can be wiped away with the one adjective, courage. Now, courage doesn't mean the fact that, that you still don't fear. It's that you are going to approach fear anyway. That's what courage means. You can get the most courageous firefighter. You can get the most courageous military personnel right there, and they fear just like you and I would, like anyone would, but they move in spite of. So the only way that you can overcome, I shouldn't say the only way, but one of the surest ways that you can overcome your fear is to develop a big why. What is your why for doing this? And if your why is big enough, Robert, you can do anything. You can do anything. Now, I mentioned a firefighter. Ask any firefighter here in the Atlanta area, and they will tell you that when the father gets to the fire and the building's on fire, and he knows that his children's inside, firefighter might say, "Sir, I'm sorry, you can't go in there. It's too dangerous." And he'll say, "But my children are in there." "Sir, it's too dangerous." The father will turn and walk away. But you let the mother get there. And the mother gets there and the firefighter says, "Ma'am, can't go in there. It's too dangerous." "But my children are in there." "Sorry, ma'am, it's too dangerous." She will remove the firefighter's arm, his hand, and still walk in there. Now, what's the critical difference? She has a bigger why. She has a bigger why. And when you emphasize your why, in one hand, I have a dream. In another hand, I have an obstacle. Robert, which one grabs your attention? The obstacle or the dream? When your why is big enough, fear doesn't matter.
And I've heard
fear doesn't matter.
Fear doesn't matter, because I've heard it said that successful people act in spite of fear. Unsuccessful people let fear stop them.
Yep.
And that goes right along in parallel with what you just said. Well, and I want to continue. There's one more thing that I got to pick up out of this, because in your book, What Makes the Great Great, you made at the very end, you have a chart. It talks about African American consumption patterns, and although Black Americans consist of 12% of the total population, they're responsible for the following consumption statistics. And they go, let me see, 36% in hair conditioners, 32% malt liquors, 30% of movie theater tickets. I'm guilty of that myself. 28% of readership of GQ magazine, and then anywhere from 25 to 35% of products such as barbecue sauce, baby formula, detergents, potato chips, salt, pasta,
I'm guilty of that.
And household cleaners. Now, it's funny because I also have gone about the fact that over 75% of Black Americans still must work after the retirement age of 65. And that kind of bothers me. So what can we do to get society as well as our own communities to realize that this travesty of consumerism, and to me, it is a travesty, and how to reverse this effect so that we can reduce the percentage of people unable to retire at retirement age?
Well, again, that's why we opened up this segment with the quote from W.B. Du Bois: "Nothing positive will ever occur in a community that fails to circulate its dollars." And there are 195 countries that belong to the United Nations. And in terms of wealth, we are number 16. So it's not a problem. Black America's problem is not that they lack financing, or they lack capital, or they lack money, or they lack financial resources. The problem, based off that data that you shared, is what we do with our money. What we do with our money. And Robert, you know, you're the expert in this field. I'm not. I'm a Johnny come lately. You're the expert in this field. There's only 3 things you can do with money. Number 1, you can spend it. Number 2, you can save it. Number 3, you can give it away. But not to know what you can do with money. That is the problem. We speak about cash flow. And what is cash flow? Money comes in and money comes out. Well, you got to get money to stay. So when it comes into you, no, money stays right here. That's the bottom line. And you got to pay yourself first. W. Clement Stone said to me, he said, "Young man, if you can't save 10 to 15% of every dollar that you earn, the seeds of greatness aren't in you." The seeds of greatness aren't in you. So you just elaborated on the data where our money goes. So if I am giving, okay, the bulk of my money to all that data that you just shared, okay, and then here is another group of people who take their money and they spend it within themselves and within their community and within their products. Here I am giving all my money to them, and they're spending all their money on themselves. Here's the critical question, Robert. How can my home be as nice as their home? How can my schools be as effective as their schools? Okay. How can our institutions and resources be as vast, be as broad, be as deep as theirs? And last but not least, how can my IQ be as high as their IQ?
And all of those questions lead back to the process that you mentioned before of thinking. Coming into thinking. And that leads us into our, that's a perfect segue into our next segment that we're going to come up. So we're going to continue this conversation because this conversation is taking us somewhere, and we're going to find out where it goes. My conversation with Dr. Dennis Kimbro in our segment of budgeting in 3 dimensions. This is Robert Newkirk, and I would like to thank you for tuning into our YouTube channel. I certainly hope you were able to absorb some valuable golden nuggets while you were watching our videos. If you appreciate what we have to offer and have the cravings for more, be sure to subscribe to our channel. Also like and comment on our channel as you see fit. and stay tuned for more videos and updates as they come along. And also be sure to visit our website, robertfnewkirk.com. Thank you once again, and I look forward to seeing you on the next video.